You're watching Every Days and Saturdays, USCC Veteran. Let's go, baby. And here's your host, Brian. What's going on, friends and family? Thank you guys so much for joining me on another great day, another great interview. I'm excited for today's interview. I love movies. I love horror movies. I love slasher movies. And this one right here is covering all that. This is a fictional horror movie, and it's going to give you a different spin on from the veteran perspective and point of view. So I'm really excited to have these two come on and talk all about it. We have Carissa Pierson, who's the senior executive producer, and Andrew Pierson, who's the actor in this movie. We're going to talk a little bit. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of the plot real quick before we bring them on, so you guys get a general idea. It's called A Soldier's Descent, written by Phil Herman. The directors are Guthrie Lowe and Carissa Pierson. Once again, we have Carissa in the back room, and we have our stars, Andrew Pierson, Air Force Amy, and Elizabeth Chamberlain. And once again, we have Andrew Pierson as well. All right, so we have Barney, a former war veteran and prisoner of war, has chosen to live off-grid to escape the world that abandoned him. Haunted by PTSD and estranged from his wife, his only connection to humanity is Daniel, his old friend and lawyer who visits to offer support and companionship. When a group of reckless campers ventures into the wilderness and accidentally kills Daniel, Barney's fragile peace is destroyed. Consumed by grief and rage, he embarks on a violent killing spree for revenge, unleashing a storm of fury on those who shattered his last bond to the world. And here to talk all about this is Andrew Pierson and Carissa Pierson. Here we go. What's going on, guys?
Hi.
Hey, thanks for having us, Brian.
Thank you.
What an intro.
That was amazing.
No, hey, you guys are the ones here putting it out there for us to put it out to the rest of the world. I'm excited for you guys to share it. Like I said, I'm a huge movie buff. We love movies here. We love horror movies. We love the slasher movies. So seeing this movie, it's definitely hits a lot of places that are near and dear to me. So I'm excited for you guys to talk all about this. Let's talk about where you guys grew up, all that kind of stuff. What kind of led you to meet each other and decide to be a director, actor, do this whole thing, and start this project. Let's go ahead and talk all about it. Floor is you guys.
Carissa, go ahead. You can start.
Okay, well, I grew up in the Midwest. I have traveled a lot prior to that with my parents. My father was a veteran as well in the Army, served, and had struggles with PTSD. All of my uncles that I grew up with as well were in the service, Navy, Army, and the different divisions. So I got to see what that was like when they got out, and their struggles of trying to get back into the civilized world. And then I met this wonderful man, Andrew Pierson, who is my partner with Death Stalker Productions and is helping me get our film out. And he is my lead actor playing Barney for this film. And we did meet in the Midwest.
Nice.
Yes, we did. And we've been together a very long time. Believe it. I know I play a sergeant in the military, but I am not that young anymore. We've been together like 30 years or something like that. But as an actor, you try to stay young.
As general now.
But yeah, it's been a heck of a ride. I started out in radio. I grew up in Pennsylvania. Father was in Nam. My grandfather was a chief in the Navy, both retired vets. So I grew up that way. The only reason I never made it in the military, I was with a relationship before Carissa, and they were like, no. And I'm like, I want to. And they're like, no. By the time I got around, all of a sudden I'm meeting Carissa, I'm in entertainment, and that was the direction it took me. So that's the only reason I didn't make it in, because I was looking forward to, college, military and everything else. And the cards never played out that way. So unfortunately, I get to be the son of a non-vet, which heard a lot of stories. Our last name, by the way, is actually Pearson. My father's birth certificate was misplaced by the Army. They reissued it as Pierson. I'm like, Dad, why did you change it? I don't know. I just kept it. So we're the only ones in my family with Pierson for our name. So that's always a fun story to tell people.
That's awesome. That's great. So, I mean, growing up with a Vietnam veteran father, did you experience like anger issues, PTSD, you know, things like that with him? And, you know, I mean, did you feel the effects of that kind of stuff? Or was he pretty good at compartmentalizing it and not really showing it his hands?
Yeah, he tried to convince me not to go into the service. Honestly, I think
Right.
a lot of people after Nam, you know, obviously the next big war was Desert Storm, the one that we're covering in the movie. And I remember I grew up. I was in high school when Desert Storm came out. So, you know, he's like, Andrew, you know, you don't want to do this. You know, I was drafted in Nam, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know, it's different now. And we had no idea when I signed up that we're going to go to war. And I remember what really made the difference. And the reason why I really was drawn to this movie because of the era, you know, all our parents served in Nam. And
Yeah.
they made sure that everyone coming home was going to be treated with respect, grand welcome home. You know, the yellow ribbons were out there back in the day, and they were like, we are damn if we're going to have anyone treated like our soldiers returned. So I was like, wow. I mean, I was like, and the opportunity to make a movie of that era, I was like, you know, I want to be part of that. You know, it's so cool. And to be able to portray someone from Desert Storm, you know, the first big war after Vietnam, and actually have that opportunity to showcase some of those things is just, it was amazing. But yeah, my dad was very quiet. You know, I think it was just a mixed generation during Vietnam. So, you know, it didn't, that's not the reason I didn't go in. I was in a relationship and she's like, no, you're staying with me. And I'm like, okay, you know, and when you're young, you know, women, they kind of draw you that way and you're like, okay, fine. You know, and it didn't work out. I got to meet Carissa, which is really good. So it worked out.
And I can interject on the aspect of my father and PTSD. He had it. It was, you were not allowed to come home if he was already in bed. You don't enter the bedroom because you won't be surviving. And a lot of triggers I watched, we tried to watch movies that had certain military aspects, but he couldn't always sit through it. He'd either get angered by the poor, he would call it their poor attempt of comedic vices because they didn't understand what they were actually trying to portray. And he would get upset with, you know, not being correctly filmed. So I take great pride in trying to make sure that with this, as he looks down from above, he'll be proud of me that I am taking the time to make sure that it is filmed correctly, that it has the appropriate signage that needs to be done, and that we're not making fun of my military, that we are giving respect and dignity and giving a voice to what I grew up having to try to understand and really worked hard on getting my father to talk about it. And he was really ashamed of the things that he's seen, ashamed of how people treated him when he got back. So it was a lot of push and pull and trying to get him to open up. And when he did open up, it was great because I learned so much.
The one thing I was going to say, Brian, though, not my father, my grandfather, though, completely different story. You know, and a great guy. And my grandmother used to get upset, and he was very set in his ways. You know, he drank a lot, smoked a lot. We used to call him Chief. You know, a great guy, but you know, very set in his ways. Everything was, oh yes, Chief, we got it. You know, and you didn't change it. And I told my grandmother one day, I said, why would you want to? He's happy. You know, and it's like if it's smokes and beer, that's fine. I mean, you know, let him enjoy life. And, you know, but I remember distinctively spending many summers with my grandparents, and, you know, it was a lot different than my father. My father, everything's good. My grandfather, you know, we let him live his life, which is important. So great guy, though. Very great.
I think with the Vietnam veterans, in that era in general, there's a lot of stories that we'll never hear because the way they were treated. So some of them don't even want to talk about their service. I think we've been able to break a lot of that stigma, but there's still some of them out there that really still carry that really close to them, and it meant something to them, and they felt some kind of way back then. And I get it, man. Like, to feel rejected by your country when you went and experienced what most people can't even have a bad nightmare about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I do think that a lot of times, especially children that were raised by Vietnam veterans, there's probably a part that you never got to know about your dad. There's probably a piece of your dad that just went with them that no one.
It was like a room in a house with everything there. You couldn't get into it, and that's how I remember life. He would never tell me any.
That's a good way of putting it.
In Germany one time, and I'm like, okay, about, and then it would be that's it, and it was like, when I was serving over in Nam, and I'm like, that was it. He was just, I was serving, yeah, I don't want to talk about it, and then I really didn't know much, and it brings, just,
it brings a lot to me because I'm a dad, right? And I also am a part of Operation Iraqi Freedom. I deployed in the year 2003. I was part of the early party and stuff like that. And when I came home, no one warned me or told me what PTSD was or any of the such. And I know that I carried a lot of that on to me, and I reflect a lot back and see that I wasn't a great father to my oldest two. And a lot of that is just not dealing with a lot of things that I was just compartmentalizing, because we've always been told, I mean, every generation that we've come through has always been suck it up, carry on. You don't have time to be upset, all those kind of things. Right. And then when you get older, all of a sudden just boom, shoosh. There's all this stuff I didn't deal with, and it comes down like a weight of bricks. And then there's things that you got to go try to sift through and make things better and things like that. So there's a part of me that understands where the Vietnam veterans' mind is, right? And where they feel that it was hard for them to talk about things and stuff like that, because it's hard for any veteran to talk about it in general. But imagine being spit on, called baby killer, and all the other disgraceful things that they had experienced.
Yeah, my father talked about that, and I pushed a lot. I was a very stubborn child, and I know my husband will laugh because he knows how stubborn I am when it comes to finding things out.
Stubborn child still.
Yeah, I'm very stubborn, and I want to know and I want to understand because I want to help. And being a critical care nurse, that's in me. So I'm here for a purpose to help people understand what, not maybe totally get the understanding of what they went through, but at least to be able to sit with them and listen. And I want to sit with them and listen. And I have done that throughout my career. And I'm making sure that with this piece, that everything that I have learned and everything that my father has shared with me, that I'm able to project this into a respectful film that will have some good conversations for people when they leave the theater. I want people to talk about this. I want people to go, there needs to be change.
Carissa, where do you find time in the day? You're a nurse, and I know I'm sure you imagine there's a lot of hours that you spend working as a nurse, and then you're working on this. I mean, you're just a busy bee, aren't you?
I'm a very driven lady. It's in critical care nursing is very tough. And it does have some shell shock aspect. It's just a little different. It looks different. But I didn't go into, I just look at it like this. I didn't go into life to not make a difference. And for once, I finally got my hands on something and my hands in something to finally do justice and to finally get that message out and to entertain, because I want this to be entertaining. I want it to have those fun horror moments, but at the same time, you sit back and go, wow, that could happen.
Right. Absolutely. So, were you a nurse during the whole epidemic, the 2020 time and the Corona? I mean, just yeah, you were so you were part of all that in the thick of it.
I was working in the COVID unit. I actually was working at the time that it hit. I was in the cardiac cath lab as a cardiac cath nurse, and I had taken an assignment there, and I had 1 week left, and that's when the government had said no elective procedures, and that pretty much shuts the cath lab down. So we were only going in to do urgent things. And so my director at that time came to me and said, Carissa, you're a great nurse. I really need help in the COVID unit because everyone's scared and you have that personality to put everybody calm, to do the right thing. And so I had to make a phone call to Mr. Pierson to let him know that I was going to be a COVID nurse. And let me tell you, talking to a husband who is not in healthcare, that man did a lot of research just to keep up on top of what was going on, to make sure that his wife was protected. Right. And it was hard. I had to do a lot of hard things working in that unit. You know, we paralyzed people, we sedated them. They don't remember what we were doing to save their life. And a lot of people, we didn't get to save their lives. I put a lot of people in body bags. I put whole families in body bags. And it still hurts, and I still try to deal with it, but right. I've learned one thing from working with my veterans and working with my other veteran nurses. We got to talk about this, and I have to talk about it. And it's hard for me when I have a hard day, but I have a wonderful partner who believes in me, and he helps me get through my days, even when I come home, and he can tell when I've had a hard day. And it's amazing when you have that partner in your life that not only promotes you for your critical care nurse value, but also believes in you for your movie making aspect.
I love it. Yeah, I imagine, that's got to be tough, especially the decision to allow your wife to go in when this is taking out people and she's going to be in the front line. That's something that we do like to promote on the show as well is, our first responders and frontline, nurses and doctors, they see stuff every single day, and we just tend to forget it because that's their job. They go in, they do their job, and they leave, and you don't hear about it carrying on, right? Like, cause they got a mission. But man, the stuff that you guys deal with on a day to day, there's many, many things for what you guys do, right? You guys are valuable to your communities, right? And you keep in their family members the best they can be. So you guys have an amazing job out there, Carissa.
And Brian, back in the day with COVID, she actually opened up most of the COVID wings in Orlando. And Reebok got a picture of her and sent her like 3 or 4 pairs of shoes as a thank you. Like, we got a big box set. I'm like, it's from Reebok, and all of a sudden, all these sneakers are in there. So it was pretty cool. That Reebok was recognizing, the frontline nurses and the people in the medical profession for doing that.
It meant a lot to me.
We have a short-term memory as a whole, and we do forget that people like Carissa were out there. While some of us were staying home and masking up, they're in there in the thick of it. So thank you so much for doing that. I imagine your community would love to thank you as well. But let's go ahead and we'll get back to your guys' film and talk more about that. What inspired you guys to write the film? Let's talk about the plot of it, without maybe spoiling it too much. And we'll go ahead and share some stuff, and we'll get everybody to help you guys back this movie as well. So tell us more about the movie.
So I can tell you how we got it, actually.
Yeah, please do.
So Phil Herman is the writer. He's been in movies for about 30 years. He does a lot of, in horror, we call them cult movies. Very underground, they're just lower budget movies traditionally. Jacker
independent,
3,
very independent.
Yeah, very, 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 small budget. And he came to me one day because I'm one of the up and coming actors in indie films, and he goes, Andrew, you guys should make a movie. And I'm like, well, we thought about it. He goes, no, I got 2 scripts. One's called Barney. One's called, I don't remember what the other one was, Usher or something like that. And I'm like, okay, what are they about? And he goes, Barney's, in the military, comes back, PTSD, is a killer and everything. And I'm like, okay. Then he told me about the other one. I'm like, let's go back to the Barney script. And I'm like, can you send it to me? Because, I don't think anything has been done like this before. And he goes, no, you're Barney. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm Barney? He goes, no, you're going to play Barney. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, as an actor,
before you even got the script, boom, you go. You got a spot.
And Brian, don't let him fool you. He doesn't read scripts. It's his wife that reads the script.
Welcome to being an actor. I read what they call in the movies.
A little blurb or something. It's like a quick little blurb.
They give you your side of it. It's like your words. It's like, here you go. I know this, and this, and then it's like, we're good. So Carissa won't let me talk about the movie because I know the high end stuff. If you start asking about kill scenes or anything else, I know what I added to the movie. And I'll let Carissa go over the synopsis. Then I want to go back and tell her what I added after we had the feedback initially. Because honestly, with the movie, I was all confident going full force with it. Our director Guthrie Lowe was a little. He's like, you can't do this movie. I'm like, what do you mean? The military is going to kill you in this movie, and I'm like, I don't see that. How do you see this? And then we were getting nervous. Like, okay, we'll just dial this down.
You were getting nervous. I wasn't getting nervous.
So I was like, maybe we could dial it down, a little bit.
Andrew's got to put the uniform on, though.
I was like, I'm going to wear the uniform here, but no. And then I was like, we'll dial it down. And then all of a sudden, that one person we announced the movie. And one person in that go, is this about PTSD? And Phil goes, Andrew, how do you answer this? I'm like, Carissa's going to answer it. I guess the doctor. There's a doctor too. I was like, oh no.
The director for. I just do the acting here.
Yeah, I was like,
that's exactly the card he pulled.
The doctor's like, so it's about PTSD, right? And we're like, well, yeah. I mean, yeah. And he's like, good. It's about time someone addressed a topic like this. It needs discussion, and this way's got to get attention. And I'm like, okay. And then the vets started telling us. I'm like, we started kind of asking vets about it. And they're like, no. And anyone that talks about PTSD or vet suicide, this needs to be done. And I'm like, you realize it's a slasher movie, fictional horror movie. No, Andrew, this could really happen in real life. And I'm like, and then we thought about it. We're like, are people going to watch? And I'm not downplaying documentaries. I love documentaries, but most of America wants to be entertained. They do. They're going to do the entertainment factor. And if that's what it takes to draw attention to this, Rambo. I mean, when Rambo came out, this was about as controversial as Rambo 40 years ago. People were like, this is terrible. And all of a sudden, Rambo became an icon for the vets, especially after Vietnam. So I said, you know what? Let's start looking at this. And what can we do with it? And I'll let Carissa go over the synopsis of the movie, and then I'll tell you kind of where I started researching in detail everything about Desert Storm. I remember growing up in it, but I'm like, I'm going to research this. I played every soundbite, everything we can come up with. And I'm like, I've got some ideas for this movie. So Carissa's going to tell you about the movie itself, and then I want to fill in what we did from the military aspect.
Perfect.
So the movie aspect, Barney goes, and he's deployed. And this is set in the 90s Desert Storm era. And during the time frame that he is gone, he gets captured. And we do realize that a lot of captures did not happen during this time frame. But this is a fictional movie, so we want to dive into that fictional aspect so that we can build a little bit more of the PTSD and what some of our soldiers have went through, not just that deployment. So just kind of dabbling into it a little bit. And then the one thing that, as I have been conversating with soldiers in Fort Bragg while I was working out on assignment out there, they were sharing with me, oftentimes they would leave, and when they come back, nothing stopped. It stopped for them. It didn't stop for their families. It didn't stop for their communities. So when Barney returns, he's trying to get back into that civilized world. And there's, you have boot camp to get you ready. You go to boot camp, you go through your certifications, your training to get deployed. But when you come home, there is no boot camp to get back into civilian life. There is nothing there. And there might be something new that I haven't heard about, but in my research, I haven't seen anything yet. Then on top of that, Barney starts dealing with the PTSD, and you're going to see that. You're going to see his dreams. You're going to see the flashbacks. You're going to see the glazed look. You're going to see the triggers. And with that, I also felt, as I was working with Guthrie on developing, and working with Phil on developing the script so that it's cinematic and it brings the qualities I need it to bring for this, to give it justice for the PTSD and the suicide aspect, we had discussed and added in the scenes with doctors because being a critical care nurse and working in the ED as well, we would see people come in and all they would give our veterans is drugs to numb them, drugs to make them sleepy, Percocets, Vicodins, Oxys.
Some of them are in over 30 plus.
Yes, and it's like this doesn't help. And it's not dealing with the problem. Plus talking about, I talked to another lady who actually participates in the PTSD meetings and what that looks like so that I can have a better understanding as I'm developing this film and making sure that we develop Barney, our character, and show him trying to move forward and trying to get better. But there's nothing there. And in our reality of life, there is not enough support to help our veterans. And that's what I'm trying to showcase with the film is the lack of the support and what's broken, but not pointing my finger at shame on you for having a broken system. It's more of, hey, what can we do as a society and how can you help? Because these folks are hurting. And so Barney is trying to get back, realizes that wife has moved on, is going through those motions and has a very traumatic event that I don't want to go too far into spoiler, but has a traumatic event that makes him decide that he is going to now do what a lot of our veterans do and isolate. And during that isolation, that's when he has Daniel, his friend, his lifelong friend, who was a lawyer, who got him out of trouble of an event that he was part of. And Daniel is now his lifeline. So Daniel's bringing him some supplies, checking in on him, making sure that he's doing the things that he needs to do to comply with his court aspects. Because Barney got into a little trouble, which we have seen for our vets as well, because, things happen and civilized world does not understand our veterans and how they react to things.
I was going to say, Barney did what a lot of veterans want to do and go move out into the woods.
Yeah,
and be by themselves. That's a real thing. I've myself wanted to do it for a while.
It is, and I don't blame them. I understand completely because sometimes I really want to.
Right.
But at the same time, as Barney's out there, and Daniel's trying to get him back, and Daniel's trying to get him back to come back, and try to get him better and to connect and be connected with people. Daniel's taken from Barney. And Barney witnesses it, unfortunately, by a bunch of campers. And then it just kind of turns into, I know what you did last summer, because Barney decides that it is time for revenge because now you have crossed that last line. And then we showcase that aspect of the piece.
That one sugar that just made him snap.
It snapped him.
Yeah.
And I think with the movie, when we found out, because every vet that we talk to has a story, and it's amazing. And I'm like, I've heard they literally, we don't even have to ask, they will volunteer. Like I have a director that I'm working for in another project over the summer, conspiracy theory movie that I'm a lead on. I play government agent or something. And he goes, Andrew, out of the blue, he leaves me this message. He goes, I just wanted to let you know. I want you to watch this movie for the movie, just to get an idea. And by the way, I know you're involved with PTSD and everything, and I was in the military. If I somehow freeze and don't come near me, and I'm like, Okay. I didn't even ask. He literally just sent this to me. And I'm like, don't come near me. Stay behind me. Stay an arm's length back. Tap me on the shoulder. Just stay back, though. And then I should be able to get recentered. And I'm like, but these are the stories that we've been shared. And I'm like, we've got to. So we went back to the beginning of the movie. The beginning of the movie has to be an elaborate rescue mission because they kept me. I know it's Desert Storm. There wasn't a lot of people that were MIA for a year, but in this story, it's fictional. I was. And I said, let's go back and see what they did for torture then. We're adding that in the movie. And that's going to be, even though it's not real, I mean, for me to have to do that as an actor, oh, believe me, it's over and over. It looks like one part, but I have to do that scene over and over and over. And I get tired at the end of the day, and your body goes through it. It's just, You'd be crazy. And it's not like the real torture, but
no, it's not. But at the same time, with that piece, Brian, we're also using those pieces because the one thing that my father would always talk about was how he would replay things in his mind. And sometimes that PTSD would replay. So we're going to have snippets of that. You're going to see that, but you're also going to see
like a little bit of flashback type things.
Oh my gosh, yes. And we're gonna put that in the film. So there's gonna be a lot of triggers for our veterans, and there'll be a lot of our veteran family that can't watch this. And we understand. We're gonna do the right thing, making sure that we're letting you know what's in this movie before you go to watch this movie. Go ahead, Andrew. I'm sorry I interrupted.
The beginning of the movie. Yeah, that's so we're literally showing that one scene is it's from some Saudi Arabia with a video camera, and I'm saying, "Hi, I'm Sergeant Marty Griffith, U.S. Army," and there's someone pretty much with a gun. You'll see them off camera, but you'll see the gun. It's like they want me to say, where the U.S. is going, or it was a mistake to be there, and I say, listen, I will never, ever disgrace my country. And then you see me get beat up a little bit, but this is just, or I will never do anything against the United States of America. We added these scenes at the beginning, and then throughout the movie, we're like, okay. And I watched a documentary on Vet PTSD. It was pretty amazing. It was probably 2 months ago. The director made me watch Rambo: First Blood, the first one. I on my own did a lot of that PTSD research with it, and the one guy, they kept talking about, their days that they've thought about killing themselves, and I'm like, we've got to put that in the movie. I said, this is going to be tough, and we added that scene in there. And then all of a sudden we're talking to other people, and they're like, you need to add the meetings in there. So we had PTSD meetings, and keep in mind, this is a fictional slasher movie, but I'm like, you know what? So
bringing some realism to it, though, right? Yeah, like a lot of correlations.
And we are casting for veterans to be a part of the PTSD meeting because we want them to talk about what they're experiencing in that meeting, so that it's an opportunity to really get a picture and not just us make that up. And it's a real picture of what they're experiencing and what they share. So we're hoping we have cast members that are veterans, and we have producers that are veterans as well that are a part of our project. But we also are really looking for a cast that can be at the PTSD meeting, speaking real aspects.
I have a buddy who's into acting and stuff. He was a Marine. I'll send you guys his name and stuff. I mean, who knows? You never know. He might be able to help you guys out. I know he has a IMDb profile and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's important. That's our resume pretty much in acting. It's like, wow, there's all these movies there. So, but yeah, I know it's going to be a tough role. The hardest thing as an actor is, we're going to have a military advisor on set, but I still got to pull it off.
Right.
I got to pull off the PTSD parts of it. I got to pull off the killing part. You saw, if you watch the proof of concept, it's literally like, it's not part of the movie. It's just what you'll see potentially as the movie. It's, just a sample. But it's me burying a friend of mine, me going through weapons, me, going, okay, who are these people? Why are they here? I'm securing the perimeter. So I've got to be able to pull this off believably as an actor in so many different ways. And believe me, I've got some big pants to fill, and I know that. And that's why we have, we're going to have someone that's military the whole time on set, making sure everything's coordinated the right way, making sure what I'm doing is accurate with it. We already did that with the uniforms. Oh my gosh, you don't want to know how much a Desert Storm uniform is nowadays? $600. I was like, how many of these do we need? I'm like, but that's, we want it accurate. Even though it's a slasher movie, it's a horror movie, it's an indie movie. We want to add elements to the movie because we're going to attract people that aren't vets watching it. That's the whole idea. The slasher part of it, people love slasher films. They're going to watch it, but then they're like, what is going on? Every other element's in there. So it's going to get people talking. And then we already talked about, we're hoping for a limited theater release of the movie. Hoping, fingers crossed, just because of the topics, and it hasn't been done before in a very, very long time. And this hasn't been done like this. And I told Carissa at the beginning of the movie, there's going to be me saying, hi, I'm Andrew Pierson. I play Sergeant Barney Griffith in the movie. This movie talks about a lot of important topics: PTSD, vet suicide, domestic abuse. We didn't mention that. That's in there too. Substance abuse and things like that. This may be difficult for some people to watch. At the end of the movie, we're going to have some resources if you or someone is struggling. And that's what we're going to start the movie off. When it goes on Blu-ray or something, we may have something on the screen just because they don't necessarily want me talking at the beginning of a movie. But in the theater, we watched Angel Studios do that with The Sound of Freedom. And I'm like, that's perfect. At least people know when they're watching it that, this could trigger them. And our goal is not to trigger people, but to bring some realism to a horror movie because we can be responsible and we can change a lot. If we change one life with this movie, it was worth being made.
Right. 100%. And we need all eyes on it, whether and from all different angles. Right. So I think sometimes people don't know how to handle the shock and awe part of it. But I think that's a big part of it, usually, especially in the veteran world. There's a lot of shock and awe, especially sometimes with our sense of humor as well. Military sense of humor could be pretty dark. In general,
the good news is we have Air Force Amy in there, if you're familiar with her. And we were like, all the vets are like, Air Force Amy's in this. And we wanted to add something fun. And I'm like, you know what? Heck, she's former Air Force. She's a vet and, honorably discharged and everything. I'm like, let's call Air Force Amy. This would be fun to add. It's a fictional movie. It just covers a lot of real events. So we're going to have some fun with it. We're going to have Air Force Amy. And there's like, what is she playing, Carissa?
She's playing the bartender. She's playing Air Force Amy as the bartender. So I'm very excited.
That's great. That's great. Well, you know what? I do have some more questions, but before... Okay, sure. I have those questions. Let's go ahead and we'll bring this up and we'll talk more about this part. But before we do, I'm going to play the trailer real quick and just be advised there is a little bit of some gruesome in here. So if you have a little gruesome, you might want to just turn away for this part towards the end, just towards the end. All right, here we go. I will do that for you.
Rest easy, my friend. You will be avenged. Perimeter first. An execution.
It was a very cold day. Let me tell you when I filmed that. It was literally, I felt bad because I'm gonna give a spoiler. When I was drinking out of the bottle, it was so cold. I think it was 18 degrees outside. I'm wearing a t-shirt. I'm like, some of the fluids falling out of my mouth, and I'm like, oh my gosh! It was that. And every time they'd go cut, and they're running up and putting a jack. I was freezing.
You're gonna have to stay jacked up for that too, man. You know, I mean, you have to stay jacked up this whole time.
Yeah, I was bulking then. I wasn't happy that I had to do it then. Like, I've actually cut quite a bit. I did that back in January, so there's never a good time. We had to get it done. So in the actual movie, I'll be a lot more cut. But I was literally Air Force Navy like, "Holy cow, your husband's jacked." But I'll be a lot more cut. But it was crazy when we did that because it was literally one of the coldest days outside. We had this little cabin with a heater and trying to heat up the cabin. And I was like, shut the door. Because, I mean, we were there for it. That was 3-4 minutes, took 8 hours to film.
I'll bring that back.
Believe it or not.
Yeah, that took 8 hours to film. And the one piece that I always like to make sure to shout out, that is not my team that's going to be filming. That is my team that's in North Carolina. My team that's filming is in California. So with that challenge, I had to find a cinematographer, sound, and a special effects person, which I have to say, Michaelin is my special effects young lady. She is in college. She has no experience in actually doing a movie. So I went out on a limb.
I was going to tell you the sound was good. I'm a sound guy. I like sound's important to me. And I thought the sound was really good on that. That's funny that you happen to mention
the sound guy was a pro. And Michaelin, I gave her a challenge. I said, look, I really need help. I need to make this gut and I need to make it look good because my director's like, oh, just get pantyhose and just put some styrofoam in it. And I'm like, no, I'm the critical care nurse. I want these guts to look like guts, baby. So I challenged Michaelin, whose parents are both veterans, and they served during the 90s. So, and they're both retired now. And they helped her get her guts going. And I'm hoping to bring her out in June to be with our special effects person that we get hired on for the team. And so she can be active and working on her craft more.
Build that resume.
Exactly, and give her a chance to be on set again because she did it, and that was actually her in the scene. That was McKaylin. She played the victim, and
Awesome.
she played a wonderful victim. So I'm hoping to bring her and her mom Susan Clark out and let them be a part of it with us because I just believe in helping everybody because we're all a family and it's important to lift one another up and give people an opportunity to get their start too.
Absolutely, that's great.
And with, that,
Now
with,
we'll,
that, with that, you'll love this because Carissa had to tell her mother literally what was going to happen. And there's a lot of safety, believe it or not, on the set. Even though we have prop guns, some of those that you saw on the porch, some of them were real knives, some were prop, some of them. So when we use anything that is in the movie industry, when we're there, it's like, here's a knife, pass it around. And that's, you know, I was a safety guy that day as I'm handling it, pass it around, everyone comfortable with it. It's plastic. You know, when I'm stabbing her, it's a retractable plastic knife. But when we changed to the actual part where she wasn't, it was a real knife. And it was funny when I jumped on top of her. No one ever thinks of this because you're only watching the scene. 3 feet away, where you out of frame, is her mother. I thought she was gonna have a heart attack when she saw a big guy jump and stab at her daughter. But it turned out good. But the sound, the way the movie's being filmed is in Dolby and professional for the theater. That we've already that's the foundation for this movie.
sound is huge, and you can definitely lose some people with sound sometimes. But I was gonna say something. I totally lost my.
Sorry, I detracted.
No, it's all good. We'll go ahead and talk more about the campaign and how you guys are trying to fund the movie and stuff like that, especially as independent filmmakers. Funding's always a trick, I imagine, right, to get the movies going. So we'll talk more about that and how others may be able to help you guys get this, going. Oh, I do remember. I think my question was more or less is, how much longer do you guys have in filming before you guys feel like you guys are gonna be able to call it the end? Do you guys have a goal in mind, or is it more based on the funding and how the funding part goes?
So we're going to do the filming in June. It'll be the last 3 weeks of June. It'll be out in California. That's our location. We haven't got our logistics totally mapped out yet.
But I can watch it. I'm here in California. Could I just watch?
We get you a pass for the set. That's not a problem.
Definitely.
Yeah, man, I'd love to see it.
Not a problem. Maybe you could be one of our experts.
Hey, yeah.
But we'll be working out the logistics of that location-wise because obviously we have to have a bar scene. A lot of people don't realize everything has to logistically work out because one shoot takes hours to shoot. One scene doesn't just happen in 5 minutes. You're setting everything up. You're getting everything ready. With funding aspect, we're trying to get funded to be able to produce this and to film this movie. And so our funding, our goal is the reality that we need is 150,000 is what we're shooting for to make a movie that can give it justice and give it the respect that it needs.
How long is the movie going to be? Do you guys have a length about how long? Is it more of a short movie?
Oh no, it's a full feature.
Full feature.
Full feature. Yep. Yep.
So maybe what, a hour, 2 hours tops?
No more than 2 hours.
Maybe hour and a half. Yeah, hour and a half maybe.
Yeah, probably an hour and a half.
My goal is an hour and a half, but reality is it might get a little bit closer to 2. It's going to be a lot of hard work and conversations with the director, with my senior executive producers on what's going to get snipped and what's going to be kept and tightening, and that takes a lot of time.
Right, and that's another reason why you guys take so long to shoot a scene, right? Is that sometimes you're just looking. You may do it 100 times, but the 99 one was the best one. Like that, just the way of the look, the angle, the coloring. That's the one, right?
It's funny because Carissa has joined me on. I remember the first that she's so excited. She's like, You're the lead in this movie. It wasn't this movie. It was another movie I was working on. She's like, I want to go on set. And I'm like, okay. You realize we work the whole day here. It's not glamorous or anything. And it's like you might start out with the camera this way. You're doing all the lines. Then the camera is over here looking this way. And you might do each of those takes 5-7 times. Then the camera's this way. The camera's doing a wide. And as an actor, you've got to keep your energy up and you've got to keep it consistent from each take.
Now, so Andrew, now let's talk a little bit more about that, dude. And let's be real, right? I mean, the frustration level, sometimes you're like, holy shit, I felt like I nailed it 10 times already. Now you want me to do 11th? I mean,
so
you'll love this. Do you ever lose your mind, bro? Like a little bit? Especially with the wifey there, you're just like, really?
They love, I don't know what it is. They love me being the alpha male. That's what I get cast as like, yeah, we're doing, it's like I get cast as this really hardcore alpha male in movies. And I was in this one Alien Horde playing a Marine Commander Gigatron, and I was the flight instructor. So I'm on there going, any other situation, you'd be court-martialed. And it's like I had to say this line so many times, and I remember
your voice.
And it's like I'm like, how many more times can I do this? I'm sitting there, and it's like one time you space out. You forget you never know the cameras are around. So I'm sitting there, and they're like, oh, there goes my camera. Hold on 1 second. Is that there? Okay.
This happens a lot, Brian. He falls on set. He ends up having catastrophes happen, and I get it on film because guess who's going to have it at the end of the movie on outtakes? And I have warned him if he has one of those moments on this film, I'm putting it all on the outtakes so everyone can have a good laugh.
So on that one, we did this scene so many times. Like
sounds like the Fall Guy. You guys ever watch that movie?
Oh yeah.
Yes, my favorite.
No, this gets better. So we're on this spaceship. It's a really cool set. It's like a spaceship, and I'm on there, and I'm like, we call it blocking. You start here, you go over here, you do the lines, and and you go back to one. One is the beginning of the scene. They go, okay, Andrew, go back to one, do this, and we're almost like robotic. It's like it seems natural, but it's like go back to one. Okay, here we go. These spaceships are equipped with blah, 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 blah. And I remember I was doing this and they kept changing the blocking on it, which is they're like, oh, now, you know what? Instead of standing there, go sit at the control panel, do stuff, get up, get mad, go over. So I did this scene. So I was getting tired. And I remember I was working with Nicole Vegas and she's like, Andrew, get that energy up. It's dropping.
We all were telling you that.
The assistant director's like, Andrew, come on, up. Okay, we got this. So I go over and I'm like, that's it. And I get up and I storm over and I'm like, I go to point at another actor and there was a hole. I fell in the hole. And I go, boing, and all of a sudden, and everyone on the set's laughing. And I'm like, and you just get so tired. It's physically draining. I know it sounds crazy. You're like, it's an easy job. But I mean, when you're trying to be consistent with everything, you're doing things over and over. And then it's like, go half speed. Okay. Look left, look right, do that. And they're literally telling you what to do. You have to execute it because the longer it takes, the longer the shots take, the longer the production takes. So you literally have to be on your game as an actor, being able to go, okay, and do the line, change the scene, and go in. So yeah,
your patience level has to be, you have to have a major patience level for that too, right? Because I think there's some people that would just be about irritated after like 20 takes of like, holy crap, you kidding me? There wasn't 20, none of these were good 20 times. Like,
I like when they start you and they go, what would be really good? We didn't think of this. I was doing Devour. I was playing a cop. And it's like, Andrew, so I was playing with Gavin Wild from Righteous Gemstones. He plays the young kid in Righteous Gemstones. I'm good friends with Gavin. So like, start here at the back of the car. No. Start at the side of the car. So we did all these takes. Go around the side of the car and walk around. Okay, we did 5 more though. No. Go inside the car, sit down, then go out. And I'm like, oh my God. And this whole scene was 3 minutes. It took 9 hours to film. And I'm like, oh my, and I'm like, I forgot the lines. And they were so simple. I'm like, it was like, I'm like, get out of the car. Boom. The assistant director's like, Andrew, don't really kill Gavin. And I'm like, out of the car now, against the car. And I'm like, oh crap. You do it so many times. I was like, my hand was like attached to his shoulder. And you take the gun out and I'm like, oh my gosh. It's like, it becomes like secondary as an actor. You're like, boom, boom. And it's like, what is going on? You do the scene over and over and you're like, didn't the last one? Wasn't that good enough? And the worst is when they change where the cinematographer is. So I have him on the ground with my gun against his head, and I'm supposed to like step back, and then someone goes, Klaus, don't aim towards the car. Yeah, I got this. I change it, and then I'm supposed to throw him on the ground. So my foot slipped. They didn't tell me the cinematographer is 1 foot behind me. I tripped. I almost fell on the ground. I was like, I tripped on the camera guy. And I'm like, oh no, those cameras are like the price of a BMW. Like,
yeah, right. Oh my gosh.
And the stunt coordinator caught me. I was like, nice of you guys to tell me we moved the camera, because it was literally like, you guys in the movies, you never know where, you guys see this part of it, and there's 30 people around here that no one ever sees. And when they move the people, you're like, as an actor, you're so focused on this, you forget the rest of the crews there. So that's where they go crazy.
When you actually, Brian, when you watch the Fall Guy, do you remember the scene where she's talking in the megaphone to him and just making him do the scene over and over and over again? I always have to remind Andrew Pierson that don't upset your wife, because guess who's going to make you do a scene over and over again?
It was that one scene he just kept getting smashed up against the wall, like boom. He was.
I had one over the summer. We were filming up in northern Nevada, and I was running out, and I was in the middle. I was a specialist Duke, and I'm running out, and I had to run, get this axe, and then run around and boom and kill someone in the movie. So I'm like, and it's over 100 degrees outside. I'm in deployment gear, and I'm like,
Arizona
do it again, running, and I'm the size of the rock, and I'm like, okay, I can do this.
They kept asking me, do you want him to run again? Yes, he needs to run again. We didn't get it. Let's change the camera angle, And the camera guy's like, oh, you're standing right where I think I want that angle. Let's have him run again.
I think they like the way you looked when you ran, Andrew.
Full deployment gear.
It just wasn't out.
100-degree weather. I'm like,
they're like, we need a little more sweat to it. Come on.
Yeah, welcome to movie making. They do, they do it all the time, and it's like everyone thinks, 3 minutes. It just seems so natural, because in post production, and I told Carissa this, I said it's gonna look like you filmed it on your video camera at home. It's all like when you film a movie, it doesn't look spectacular. We call it in post production cinematic. Like when you saw a lot of what you just saw from A Soldier's Descent, a lot of that was color graded in post production, edited. All the camera angles were smoothened out to make it look very, like when we were, and I guess we can give away the secret.
I guess you could, is that what you're basically saying? It's just, there's a lot of cleanup there is a
lot of cleanup that goes to that. And my director of photography, Chris Warren, did the editing for me for the proof of concept. And so he has to do a lot of balancing of the color. He has to trim the scenes down too. There was several times that we retook scenes, and he was getting quite a little aggravated with me, because I was like, I don't like that one. Where's this one? And so he's like, Carissa, I really hope you don't do this with the big movie, that we actually can get this moving and progressing, and you're not like making me. And I'm like, I can't help it. I have that vision, and Guthrie has that vision, and we both are working on this together. And Guthrie was so disappointed that he wasn't able to come out to be with me when I did the proof of concept, because that was my opportunity to do this on my own. And I had him on the phone, but he's like, you never even called me. And I'm like, that's because I learned from the best, and you helped me out.
And when, like, the kill scene, and that was probably the most complex part of that whole thing that we shot.
You can actually share that, because I'm not using that in the real movie.
Okay. So when
no one knows my kill scenes, by the way, Brian, not even my actors.
Oh, nice.
But that kill scene, for example, the first part was you see me stabbing. I get pretty normal, and it's with a retractable knife. So then it cuts away, and you still think I'm on top of her, but it cuts away, and we filmed it separately with a real knife opening up, the certain part of her, taking the guts out. The next part was us taking that whole thing, putting it back on top of the actress, me jumping on top of her. So it looks, and then we blended it all together. So you can't tell. It looks like I've always been on top of her, just killing her. And then at the end, she props herself against this tree, and we added more blood, and we put it for the finished product, and then they color balance. But it's a step-by-step process to get everything to look very smooth, and it seems simple. Everyone's like, you could just film this quickly, but in order to get it for safety of the actor or actresses, you can't use real knives, so things have to be pieced together. But it's the fun part of movie making, I guess.
Yeah, we did learn just recently how important it is to have safety on the set, right?
Oh yeah.
Someone got shot and killed
On Rust,
not too long ago. So I imagine that safety is a big thing on the set. Everybody wants to go home safely, right?
Yeah, we do take it very seriously. We do talk safety throughout the times that we're on set during filming. We make sure that there are no live guns and ammunition on set. If there is somebody that brought a gun, we have a process of making sure that gun is never grabbed, never even anywhere near production. It is everyone knows not to go there, and we pretty much do not want live weapons of guns on set. There's no reason for it.
I bring a whole, live stuff brings a whole nother element of worry, concern, risk, all that stuff. So,
and typically, I do play a lot of roles with guns. We have a safety meeting at the beginning of each production, and they go, "These are the weapons being used right now. Pass them around. Does anybody have any real knives on them? Does anybody have a gun on them right now? Does anyone have a gun in their car that's on set? Do not go by the white Explorer over there. Everyone stay away from that car." And it's like, and people, they'll, even if it's the boom microphone operator, they will inspect the stuff we're using so they're comfortable with it before, even if it's, and we treat the fake guns like real. I mean, our finger's not on that trigger unless we're actually going to kill somebody in a movie. It's literally on the side of the gun, like it is ready. But you'll see that. I mean, that kind of detail is what we do. We treat everything like it's real. And that's how the safety is with every single, when I play a cop, when I play military, even if I'm playing a serial killer, we treat everything as if it's a real knife or gun. And you have to, or else you could easily. And as an actor, you're not paying, it's like you grab that thing, you start stabbing. You don't want it to be a real knife. You don't.
Oh, my little technical difficulties there. Looks quick. But yeah, I imagine, like I said, that stuff's always important to continuously stay on top of it, because there's been several incidences where things have happened on set. And just like you said, you fell through something while you were doing something. You didn't even expect it. So because there's always wires, cameras, extra people around, there's always something you guys got to watch out for, I imagine.
And the stunt part of it, just so, I mean, since we're talking about the stunt part, like if you ever see us fighting and whatnot, it's all choreography. Punch, crunch, fire, up.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's dancing. It's like here,
1,
here,
2, 3,
here, boom, we take, whatever we're doing. It's all, it's literally, and then when we do it on the movie, it's a little faster, but we speed it up in post-production so that it looks like, and I got close to, I punched someone one time, the makeup came right off. And I'm like, did you feel that? Because he moved his head and I went to punch, and it looked like I punched him on the movie, but it went right through the makeup. I'm like, this is crazy.
That's great. So, all right, we'll go ahead and bring up this again. We'll talk about how people can go ahead and make donations. What does it take to get them to, what do they need to do to donate to this?
I have a lot of great contributions that opportunities that people can do. I have a veteran producer perk, and that's what we call them. And I have a only for vets and I have that out there. I have actually, you could be an extra with Air Force Amy in a
There she
scene.
is. Wow.
Yeah, isn't she beautiful? She's
She
just
is beautiful.
absolutely beautiful. And then there's the handsome lead actor, Andrew.
No.
And then, of course, everybody recognizes Leonora Scelfo. She is from Scream.
Oh,
And then we have Elizabeth Chamberlain. She's playing one of the campers. She's playing Kate.
We love Scream here.
And then Christina Laughter, she's playing Sue. She's in a very important scene that I don't want to do any spoiler alerts, but she has a very hard scene with our lead actor Barney, and it is going to be dynamite.
But with the perks, so the way that it works, the movie is we crowdfund it. And if you're not familiar with you probably are, but if someone's listening, they're like, what is crowdfunding? The movie's built off of people contributing it. So every contribution helps bring this movie to life, and we do need help. We do. It's I wish it were cheaper to put together. It's just we want it to be in the theater. And if you go up on the screen to the right, that side, right on the very right-hand side, see it says choose your perk. If you go down a little bit. Yep, right there. There's a little thing. Yep.
There's
all of those are what we call perks. They're just thank yous for, you can get anyone, even if you're not in the movie business, can get one of these. If you want your name as a producer on the movie, it's done. If you contribute, a certain dollar amount, your name's on the movie. We have we just added a couple of minutes ago, if you want your product in the movie, we're reaching out to veteran companies and whatnot. If you want to visit the set, it's not shopping. It's, if you contribute, that's what you get right there. If you want to be an associate producer, you don't have to be a producer in real life. If you want to be an actor and if you want to see what it's like to have a couple of lines in the movie and come on and play in a scene, we'll help you through it. The major roles are usually taken, but we have smaller ones. You can play a doctor with me, 3-4 lines. There it is. Play a doctor.
Hey,
you come on and, you can play a doctor. If you want to be the executive producer and really help us out, we have senior executive producer. We really need the backing to get this movie to life.
Right.
It's just, I wish it were cheaper.
As well. And then we also just added tonight folks that want to put their products in the movie and have a chance to have people really see their products and have that visual representation as well. And you notice that we have little yellow ribbons. Those are our veterans that are in the movie.
Okay. Chris Becker. All right.
Air Force Amy. Yep, she's one.
Air Force Amy. There it is. All right. Wow, that's really cool. Love that.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal movie, and it's one that's going to be in the history books. We really got to bring it to life. And I know that's a long URL. I wish we could shorten it, but it's on Indigo.
I'll be sure to put it in the description of the show as well, so that way people could just click on it.
Even if people can share it, and there's you can make a donation for as low as $10, and $10 is $10. We'll anything that we can get.
Enough people do $10. $10 goes a long ways.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And even if it's that one person that gave the $10, another person comes along, and another person comes along. It does add up, and it is our dream to be able to bestow a gift to our community of a movie that actually speaks to what our veterans go through. And like I had shared with you before, Brian, we're not backed by MGM Studios. We're not backed by Sony. We are not Blumhouse. Those folks have money in their pockets, and I always say those folks water a lot of their topics down in their movies, and our movie is not going to be watered down. So we really need our crowdfunding help. We really need folks to not just like and share. We need people to help us and contribute.
The major studios would never touch a movie like this. It's everything's so just not watered down, but really safe nowadays.
Right.
I hate
Yeah.
to say that. It's very just, it's overly, even the horror movies are safe.
Even going to so I go to we go to Universal a lot, so we like to go to the Fright Nights and all that stuff. So even that, I was telling my wife, I was like, gosh dang, it's not even that scary anymore. Like, you know, when someone's gonna pop out, you know, and
Yeah.
but they gotta dumb it down for the people that just go into cardiac arrest. Like, don't go on the dang thing, because now you're ruining it for people like me. I want to have a close to cardiac arrest. You know?
Yeah.
See, that would get the headlines. When I was like, someone does cardiac arrest at Halloween Horror Nights at Universal. But yeah, that's the beauty of doing indie film work, is we can touch these topics, and it's like,
you guys get a lot more freedom, right? Like, you
Yeah.
guys can, yes, right, and you can have way more authenticness to your movie as well, which a lot of people got to, like you said, stay away from it. I really been seeing, you know, because we are big horror fans, you know, but they're so predictable, and I feel like they do such a good job with the beginning, the middle, and then they just lose me at the end.
You will not be lost at the end of this movie, I promise you. I'm actually keeping it locked down in top secret. There are going to be 3 scenes filmed for the ending. It is going to be a close set, because no one is going to be allowed to be there except for those people that are there. Every actor's kill scene, they don't even know how they're being killed. They just know it's not going to be anything indecent. I've promised them that. But even Andrew doesn't know the kill scenes, because there's no reason for me to share that with them. I need to have that trust relationship, because I want it to be a surprise when I kill them on screen. If you know ahead of time, you are not going to be good at acting how you were killed. And obviously, you know, there's the ending is very pivotal to it. And Andrew and I have discussed the ending on several occasions. We've had several arguments about it, because it's to do a movie justice and to end it correctly is a challenge. And so I've accepted that challenge, and I have 3 scenes to shoot for the ending, and one will be chosen for the theatrical aspect. And then when we do distribution, when we do distribution of the DVD aspect, we'll have all 3 scenes for people to see.
So how many people are involved when it comes to this whole process? You know, it sounds like a lot of people on the team.
There's a lot of people on the team. What people don't realize is when a movie, when you choose your script, you get it from your writer. It's written for a reading aspect, and then you have to take your hands in it. It's like kneading dough, and you're developing it. And I had to take Barney, and I had to make you love him, and I have worked hard on making you love him. And then I had to make sure that you love the campers, you know, who made the wrong decision, and you can feel their pain. And then I make sure that you love Daniel, and that you know, you were going to go through this movie, and you're going to sit there and you're going to be like, oh, I didn't want that to happen. Oh, you know, and I'm going to pull you in, and then I'm going to slap you up a little bit. That's my goal.
Do you guys have like, I mean, now that you have had this script, obviously, Andrew, you know the surface of it, and Chris is knee deep in the woods with it all.
Oh yeah,
do you guys find yourself a little bit? Because now I'm sure these characters have come to life for you guys, right? So at the dinner table, you're talking about some of these characters as though they're like they're alive, right? I mean, is that kind of starting to happen for you guys, where the movie's starting to be more of like a real, like these people you're referring to them almost like the real now?
Yes, that for me, that is Guthrie and we spend. I think I have more of a relationship with Guthrie than I do with Andrew right now, because I spend time on the phone with my director, and we're working the scenes, and we're like, there's one kill scene that we have not finished, and we have had, I call it kill scene writer's block, because we are kill blocked on this one, because we can't agree on how I want to kill these 2 people. And so I have finally have come to terms with that. and I finally have an idea, and we're meeting this Friday, and I have an 8-hour session with him every time that we're reworking things, and we're adding lines, and we're like, oh, this has got to go away. And poor Andrew, he doesn't even know how he's killing anybody.
But I will say, she gets mad because I'll be like, you know what I was thinking, and it's like, yeah,
you got that need to know basis, you know. You don't need to know.
Because this is what I've learned. You bring horror people involved, like Carissa and Guthrie. They've got the horror nailed. Okay, we got the horror nailed. And the rest of them, like, I said, hello, this is still a war movie. And it's because I said, we need to bring the emotion, you know, and I said, we have to add a deployment part of it with me and Judy, who is Leonora Shelfo from Scream. She's my wife in there. And there has to be something like, listen, honey, I promise I'm coming home.
Brian, this was a big fight. Because I was like, stop meddling. You are the lead actor in this. Stop meddling in my scenes. I already have this covered. We fought the whole weekend about this scene. And then I was like, all right, fine. I'll let you have it. You can have total control over this tiny scene that is very important because I totally understand. But because our communication was off, and I'm like, you can't meddle as an actor in the creation of this. You are the lead actor. Stay in your lane, my man.
I did add the beginning of the movie. I told her, I said, you know, with Desert Storm, I want people coming in formation. I want the uniforms to look accurate. I want the rescue to be authentic, as close as we can. And I want the scenes that are going to build the basis and foundation of this movie. I said, you know, we're taking clips. We already have, you know, in the budget, hopefully, to buy all the clips from Desert Storm. Put it like there's, what was it, Conspiracy Theory, the movie? They start playing little clips and everything. That's how we want this movie to start.
Andrew wants to look good. He does want to look good.
He does.
Go straight into it. And I told her, I said,
he sounded like a real actor right now, though. You know, I will say,
yeah,
you know, he wants that nice uniform. We got to get the better ones over there. Those ones.
Did she ever send you the pictures from the photo shoot?
I don't think I got the photos.
I'm actually in the Desert Storm uniform. We have them for the photo shoot. You on the poster, you see me as the killer.
Some photos. I'll make it part of the thumbnail if I'm allowed to. I'll put it in there.
Yeah,
absolutely. Cool. But we had we bought two. It was funny putting it together. That the people outside of Bragg love us. They're like, oh, hey, it's the actors coming to buy military stuff. And we're like,
there's that girl who has that big dream.
And it was funny because I was like, we need the chocolate chip. And he goes, no, you need this. Oh, go down the road. They've got it there. And then go to the other place. They'll put the patches on. I said, it needs to be sergeant and this. And, you know, and then all of a sudden it's airborne. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So we made it. And I told Phil Herman, I'm like, Phil, I can't help it. I went overboard. I'm like, I want this thing to look totally legit. And I told Carissa, I said, this is what we're going to do. I said, we're probably going to, unfortunately, to be on the rescue team is probably going to be about 1,500, but we're going to let the actors keep the tops of the uniform. You know, it's like you can have it. It's as a memento from the movie, but yeah, I want everything to be, you know, as accurate as we can. You know, I know it's a horror movie. I know it is, but I told Carissa it's important to get the things right that we are driving home, especially like in the suicide scene. So I'm not going to say what it is, but it's important that we are.
You can't say what it is.
What's that?
You can't say what it is.
No, I'm not going to say what it is, but I added that. I said, we need to do this. I said, I've been listening to people. I've been watching this. So we need to add this in there. It's a crucial part that goes with it. I said, people are thinking about this all the time. And I said, we need to add this in there. And I told her, I said, you don't have it. I said, you're sitting on this end of it behind the camera. I'm literally, you know, I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh. I'm like, I hope I don't crap the bed on this thing because, you know, I've got to pull this off believable. I've got to pull it off in the horror aspect. I've got to pull it off from the military aspect. And I've got to pull it off from the PTSD aspect. I've got a lot of hats I've got to wear as the lead actor in the movie. And it's got to come together perfect. I told her, I said, the first thing I want on that trailer is that video of and just to drive it home. That's like, I was captured immediately. I want that on the trailer of the movie that, you know, listen, I'm Sergeant Barney Griffith of the U.S. Army. I will never betray my country. Boom. And it's like, I want that on there. And then I want, to open up for the rest of the movie because I
Brian,
just
do you
want
think
to.
he's trying to really make sure that I've got that on there? I mean, I'm just like, come on, babe.
Hey,
I'm
you know what,
in the house
Andrew? You
with
better watch out, though, dude. I feel like Chris is over here like, I remember now. You're gonna be doing this take like 30 more times, Bubba.
I did tell her the torture stuff.
I think he's taking torture stuff. You're gonna be doing a lot of retakes. I feel like in the future here, brother.
I feel a fall guy moment coming along.
The Desert Storm stuff is day one. I told her, I said, that Desert Storm stuff is day one. I said, we're going to get all those hard scenes done immediately day one. I said, I don't want to be day 5 on the production, going back into Death Valley, trying to film all the Desert Storm stuff. Day one, when my energy's up, when I can put because as an actor, if you have a 14-day schedule, you don't want to take all that hard stuff put on day 7. It's like,
right.
You've already been, and it's like, I told her day one, I said, you got to talk to Guthrie. All the stuff with the torture scenes, with the trigger scenes, they've got to be done on day one when the energy's up. And I want everything to be, I know they're going to be tough to do. I know they're going to be tough. And I said, day one, I want them out of the way just so I feel better for the rest of the movie. So.
And Brian, I have a whole section of my house that is full of military gear. I swear that if somebody came into the house and they come upstairs to take a look around, and they open the door, they're going to think that I'm actually going to be doing something, military-wise. My neighbors, they look at me and they just kind of step back a little bit because they're like, is that a real AK-47 she's got?
You're going to see Andrew walking through the yard and he's just going to be... Don't worry, I'm just getting ready for it.
Well, I've walked in, pardon me, on other movies where I'm dressed up military. I'm like, when we're trying to go to set, I ran into 7-Eleven. I was in Vegas. I was filming out in the desert in August, and it didn't even look, the uniform was close, but they're like, sir, thank you for serving. And I'm like, I'm an actor. I'm not really in the military. They come up all the time. They're like, thank you for serving. The only thing I was really upset about,
you probably look more jacked up than a lot of the guys serving already. So, that's probably
I walked in, I was like, they didn't believe us.
The superheroes coming in. Holy shit, man. Rambo.
They said, it was funny in the shops, and we were in the military shops, and they're like, I said, yeah, I'm not in the military. Stop messing with us. I'm like, no, I'm seriously not in the military. Okay, fine, I'm SF, okay? And he's like, oh, I do that. I'm like, I'm not in the military. But the only thing I was kind of disappointed about, they people automatically assume as my build, maybe how I act that, I'm former military. And I told Carissa, I said, there's still they're not always treated the best. I always thought in my mind, and this is something that I always thought, man, these are the heroes that defend our country and everything. Everyone's got to love them and everything. And it's not
my heroes.
Oh my gosh. I was like, I've had people treat me like garbage thinking I'm military. And I'm like, what? And I said, this is how we treat the people that serve our country? I'm like, because they see me like in the American flag, or they see me, jacked up. They think I'm, especially in a town like maybe Fayetteville. And I've been treated badly. And I'm like, what is going on with people? I'm like, these people keep our country safe. They give their lives for our country. They give more than their lives. Their families have to deal with it. And this is how they get treated. I always thought after Vietnam that everything changed. I honestly thought everything changed. And I was
a little bit, but not a lot. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And I think that's why I'm coming on to your platform, Brian. And I am reaching out to the veterans, and I'm asking for their help so that I can get this movie made, so that I can get this in the theaters, so that we can change some things and have people having conversations about what it is that you guys are dealing with. And it's not just, a horror movie that entertains. It's a horror movie that has hard topics that are talking about the realities of what our veterans are facing. And it's also showcasing the realities of the lack of support, because it's there. And we know this because, Andrew, you put on the statistics of veteran suicide on our Facebook page, which we do have a public Facebook page that everyone can join and be a part of.
And I think it went down to like 17 a day.
But that's too many.
It's insane. Because I did the research. I'm like, what? How
it's as
do
high as
people not know
44
this?
a day. I mean, it's all over the place. I don't think that there's, and that's only numbers that can actually be captured too, right?
Exactly.
There's a lot of numbers out there that they don't capture. So,
A friend of
numbers
mine told
can
me,
be misleading.
I was shocked. A friend of mine called me that I'd done some stuff with one of the schools, and he goes, "So what are you doing, Andrew?" I said, "We're putting a movie together." And he goes, and he was in the Marines. And Brian, I wanted to say thank you for serving. I didn't get a chance at the beginning of the show, but thank you.
For your support. Yeah,
Appreciate
thank you.
it. But he told me, he goes, I was working at ITT, and that's what he was saying. He goes, Andrew, a friend of mine, I had a bad day at work, and he goes, they were threatening to fire me because the new management and all this stuff happened. And I went home, and he goes, "Are you all right?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm dealing with it. I'll be fine. I'm coming back in or whatever." And I guess the next day, his friend's girlfriend called him, and he's on his phone, and she was in complete tears. And he goes, "Andrew, he killed himself from the day before." And there was no sign. There was nothing. And I was like, I'm sitting there going, I was like, how was that? And he goes, "There's no signs." He goes, "I had no idea." And he goes, "So when you do this movie, just know, anytime you bring this to light, it's going to make an impact."
And that's what we want to do.
The stories that we've heard,
they're heartbreaking.
I don't even know what to say. People, they volunteer, they want to tell us, and I'm like, and then they find out like I'm playing the lead in the movie, and I'm like, it's even harder to hear. I'm like, words can't describe it, and it's like this needs to be told, and there needs to be, any way that
uncomfortable conversations sometimes got to be had,
Yeah.
and to get to the root of a problem. And that's, I think, why we can't get to a root of the problem is because we're afraid to go talk about some uncomfortable things that we got to talk about, or they get censored out, if you want to talk about it. It just seems like they prevent us from trying to make a difference in that realm. And it's really hard. It's a hard realm to tap into, right? Because no one can figure it out. We've watched men and women kill themselves that were completely happy and gave no sign. Yeah, and gave us no signs whatsoever. Some of them were actually even part of suicide awareness teams.
Yes,
and they did it right. So, a lot of it is just us not being able to talk about it and feel comfortable in our own skin. And even be around people that we can't talk about it. That's why there's the isolation, and people start going and wanting to disconnect themselves, because no one gets it. And then they're tired of trying to explain themselves. They're tired of fighting for who they are, because I feel like the veteran community is probably one of the most understood community ever. Some of us have the biggest hearts, but we're also looked at as we're assholes, or something of the sort. So, sometimes I've said this as a recent that sometimes being a Marine is a lonely world because not everybody understands or everybody gets it. Just a few, so sometimes it does feel like a lonely world, right? Because your heart's intent, but other people may not look at it the same as you do, right? And that's sometimes hard to emulate and put out to the rest of the world.
A lot of the world doesn't go through what you guys have went through, and I can relate to that aspect with nursing because a lot of folks don't understand what nurses go through on a day-to-day basis. That's why this connects so personally with me because I'm one moment I'm putting somebody in a body bag and I'm helping people realize that person has gone, and then I have to walk out of that room and walk into the next room, and that person isn't dead. And that person doesn't need to hear what just happened. Yeah. And we have to be professional. We have to compartmentalize all that. So that's how I can relate to this this theme and these things that veterans and nurses go through. And that's why I want to have that opportunity to put this film out there And so we can have these hard conversations, and so that the people in our communities that do not have any part of this and don't understand will have an opportunity to learn to love Barney, to go through the journey with Barney, and to see what this feels like through Barney's eyes, and to see what this feels like through Judy's eyes, his wife who was estranged from him, to see what it feels like through the camper's eyes who end up on the wrong side of Barney. It breaks my heart when I hear people say that the veterans are just assholes. To me, they're not assholes. They're misunderstood. And I love them for their service that they gave the country. If it wasn't for my veterans, I wouldn't be able to make a movie. As a female, I wouldn't even be able to be speaking live on your podcast, because in other countries, women do not have that privilege. And because of my brethren, the veterans, I have that privilege to be able to chase my dreams. And I thank our servicemen for that. And I want to be able to give something back and be able to make a difference. And if this saves one life, one veteran from committing suicide, then I did a damn good job. And my team did a damn good job of getting this movie out there. And I'm fighting really hard because I am not a big film production company. I don't have the funds to make this movie. I need the crowd to help me fund it. And that's why I'm coming on your podcast to speak to everyone, so that everyone understands where we're coming from, because it is a crowd-funded piece, and it is a privilege to be in the indie film world, but it is a challenge to get our dreams accomplished because of the lack of funding sometimes.
And the only other thing I wanted to add was, it's a privilege to be able to play military, especially when you haven't been military. I take it very seriously, and I do my best to deliver, what I'm told and how to bring that off as an actor. I mean, it's a privilege. It really is. It's something that people are judging you every second about. And, I want it to be, at least as accurate as we can get it. And I know it's a privilege, and I appreciate people believing in me to be able to play, sergeant in the Army and pull this off.
Well, I want to thank you guys personally for supporting the veteran community and even thinking about it. And I know it's near and dear to you guys because you guys were brought up in it, and you understand the world a little bit more than some do. But it's always great to hear, that we get support from other people. It's sometimes, as a veteran, it does feel like a lonely world sometimes, right? And there was just a viral video going out of a girl spouting off about how veterans get benefits and we shouldn't get benefits and all these things. And you see these things, and that there's that crowd of people that feel some kind of way, right? But we don't pay no attention to that kind of stuff. We all know
that. They don't know what they're talking about.
100%. There's no reason that we got to listen to that noise. And a lot of times it's a very small amount of people making the noise.
And honestly, it's the least that we can do for our vets.
And that's awesome. I appreciate you guys. Now, before we head out, is there any last parting words that you guys would like to say before we go?
I just want to thank the vets that are watching. Thank you for at least watching this podcast with us on here. And I know it's tough. It's a tough subject. And I want to thank you for your service, because first and foremost, that means the world to me. We get to live in a democracy that I have freedom. And if it wasn't for you guys and gals that are out there that were fighting for our country, we wouldn't have that freedom. So thank you.
And thank you guys. Chris, do you have any last words?
I do, because the girl always has to have the last word in there.
That's right. We let the ladies have the last words, as we know better than that. So
yeah, I just want to say thank you to our veterans. I love you guys. I love what you've done for us, and I'm here for you. Reach out. I have a Facebook page. It's public. If you want to message me, I'm here to listen. As well as we have a Facebook group for our movie. Please join in to that public group. We do want to hear from you. I do need your support. I love you, and I love your support. And thank you, Brian, for your service, and thank you for allowing me to be on your podcast. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thank you guys once again. And I'm just flashing up a couple areas you guys can check. These links will be in the description of the show as well, so you guys will be able to directly click on them. Once again, I thank you guys so much for coming on. I know you guys are 3 hours ahead of me, so it's pretty late for you guys.
Well, that's
so
all right.
I'll let you guys go.
You should love having us.
God knows Chris probably got something to go do. But I appreciate you guys so much for taking the time to come on. And it was a pleasure having you guys on. And I can't wait to see your guys' work that you guys did. So looking forward to it.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Bye, everyone.
All right, friends and family, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for another great episode or an interview, that is. If you guys want to get in touch with me, you guys please feel free to email me every day's a Saturday 365 at yahoo.com. If you have any questions, you need some help or anything, I can try to help you, direct you, get you some resources, whatever. Maybe you want to be on the show as well. Also, don't forget to subscribe to YouTube if you have a YouTube channel at EDAS/USMC Veteran. And remember, if you are out there and you need some help, don't forget there's a crisis lifeline for veterans. It's 988, press 1, and hopefully they can put you guys in the right direction and get you the help that you may need or resources that you may need. All right, you know how we say on the show, don't let the day kick your ass. Make sure you're out there kicking it. Until next time, we'll see you guys.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.